Hi everyone, I built my own agent just because I can, and I want to show you how you can do it because it's actually really cool and pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but pretty straightforward. Um, and super fun to do. So it's something like if you've got a bit of time in your hands, totally encourage you to just dive in and check it out and just build your own agent just for fun. So this is triggered by a chat. So I've got an URL where I've got my own agent deployed as a chatbot agent, and it can do some certain things for me. So for example, I can say, what's the weather like today in Palma? And it should tell me what the weather is like if it all works as it should. And there's a couple of other things that I can ask it while I'm waiting for this. There we go. It looks like the weather in Palma today is quite interesting. It actually really is, with a really bad storm. It's 19.1 degrees, and the daily forecast is a chance of the thunderstorm. There was. That is totally true. So yes, this is perfect. Weather is correct. And we can ask it other things like, how many subscribers do I have on YouTube, for example. Now, why would I want all this information in a chatbot? I don't know, just because it's cool. Like I said, I currently have 8,660 subscribers. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm doing good. Keep up the great work. I love it. I love how it's like enthusiastic as well. And then there's a couple of other things I can do. Okay, this is a really bad one, but how many kilometers did I run this week? I spelled week wrong. Never mind. I didn't run a lot because life and kids and the thunderstorms. I should totally run more. But it's really interesting to kind of get all this kind of information through the chatbot. Right. I want to show you how to build this. Okay. And it is super simple. It's obviously like they run a lot of kilometers. So AI is like literally, yeah, look at that, 5.39. Oh my God. That's terrible. I need to get out more. I really need to get out more. Now I can ask for other things as well, like how many issues I've got. I can ask for the news and stuff like that. And then I can do something really cool and I can say things like, can you send me an email with all the things I just asked you? And now it's going to go ahead and it's going to send me an email with everything that I just got there. Now, I have absolutely no idea why I would want that, but think about in better circumstances why you would want that. It should be in my inbox shortly. I'm going to go over to my other screen where I have my emails, and let's see if it has come through. Not yet, so give it another second. It should come through and I'll just show you the email that got sent. So this is really, really cool. So how do we build this? So I'm using a tool called n8n. So let's go over and take a look. So this is my agent workflow. Oh, hang on a second. Here is my email. Let's see if I can pull this out so you don't see too much of everything else. There we go. So that is the email, right? It's super, super whatever. It's cool. Here's a summary of your recent conversation, YouTube subscribers, the Strava activity, the lunch run, and the daily forecast. That is kind of cool. And you can set up triggers to like automatically do that on a specific moment of the day. So I could have that like just sent every single morning, for example. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. So I'm just playing around, but just think about the possibilities yourself and things you can do. So n8n is basically a way for you to create nodes and create agents with all these kind of like nodes that can do certain things for you. And there's a lot here, right? I'm going to try and break this down a little bit by explaining this in the best simple way. And to be honest, I was playing around with a lot, and the easiest for me was taking somebody else's template and learning it from there. And then just, building and building and building and understanding things. So n8n, basically we get this, I'm on a free trial at the moment. So I get this kind of, personal one. Let's just say if I was playing with it. So there's all my workflows that I'm creating. So you can create a load of different workflows, right? So this is my build your first AI agent. And I actually have another really simple one, I think. This one's more complicated. Yeah, I've got a few different ones. But this one is for me the best, the easiest one to follow. So this one has, it starts off with a trigger, right? A trigger is what is going to be used in order for that workflow to happen. And I'm using a chat, and it's called example chat, but this, I could totally rename it. So we'll click on this just so you can see what it does. And this is the example chat. And up here, we've got access to kind of like things to, you know, this is called Debbie's chat, AI chat. AI chat, for example, right? And then you've got, this is the URL. So this is the URL that I could send to you all so you could open up my chat. Now, obviously, this is, I can, you know, hide it, not make it publicly, etc. And it's hosted, it could be embedded into my website. So just think about cool things like that that you can play around with. And then there's authentication. You can put basic auth and user auth. And then the message, you can put that message anything you want. And the subtitle, and then some styling as well. All right. And that basically creates, where is it? That page that I showed you, the styling, your own personal assistant. Let's get chatting. So that comes from there. So this is basically just, you know, this. Okay. So that's kind of cool. That's the first thing that is doing, and that's going to trigger it. So as I'm chatting, it's going to trigger the things that need to get done. Now, this, again, can be set up differently, and you can add these all these from here. So you could, this is what happens next, but you could add another trigger. So for example, trigger manually on an app event, on a schedule, like I said, on a webhook call, on a form submission. Think about that. So someone sends a form, maybe they want me as a speaker to the conference, they could fill out a form, and bang, I could send them an email back saying, thank you so much for your interest in me speaking at your conference. And I could save it all into a Google Sheet. Oh, I'm just thinking out loud here. I need to actually put these into practice. But yes, this is so many things we can do. So that's kind of cool. So this is my agent. I've called it my first AI agent. Now, this is a super simple, basic agent. Actually, it's not, because it's got quite a lot of tools. If you're building bigger agents, you could have an orchestrator agent and then loads of mini sub-agents. So just think about the possibilities and the complexity that you could actually build, right? So my first AI agent is basically, it's connected to the chat trigger node, and it's just got some JSON chat input and the system prompt. So this is really important. This is a n8n demo AI agent, and again, I could modify this to whatever I wanted and give it different roles or give it different things, etc. So there's a lot of things in here that you can play around with. Of course, you've got links to docs to learn more, should you need to learn more. And you can see I've got this execute step. So each step along the way, I can just execute to check that it works. But I want to just go through things first, and then we'll kind of play around with the executing. So this is the important thing here is connecting. I'm using Gemini, but you could totally use OpenAI or whatever you want here. But with Gemini, now I've got it connected to my account. So I had to go to the Google Cloud Console and connect up my account, and basically, again, I'm using the free tier at the moment. So everything at the moment is free until I start really doing loads of cool things, and then I have to pay money. But I'm using Gemini 2.25 Flash. And again, there's a couple of different models that you could choose. And the hardest thing was basically setting up those and adding in the credentials to connect to my Google thing. As you can see, I'm using Lucas Perrin. He's put a copyright in here because he's put in the work on this workflow, and I'll send a link into the YouTube description for the workflow that he created that you can just basically copy. He has got that template, and you can learn from it because it's really a really nice one to learn from. So kudos to him. He did an amazing job there. So that's basically my chat bot, my model. And then I've got like the conversation memory. This is important because I'm asking a lot of things, right? And you saw how I was able to ask 3 questions and then got it sent to my email. So it needs to have a memory to kind of remember what I asked it. So it's able to then go ahead and create that email. So the context window length, etc. And you can play around with that as much as you want to. Again, super simple. It's just all set up. So it just works out of the box. Now, these are the cool things. These are the tools. This is what I would call if I was doing like MCP server, right? Think about the MCP server tools. These are like your tools, the things that it can do for you. So super simple one. Just get YouTube stats. Now, I could have a YouTube agent that does all YouTube stuff, but I literally just wanted to play around and I wanted to add some extra things in here that didn't come with the template out of the box, just to kind of see how it worked. So I added some extra stuff in that you're not going to see if you happen to copy that starter template. And all I'm doing is just getting, I'm using my YouTube account. So again, I had to do all that credential stuff and the API keys. That's again, the hardest thing you can do is setting up this. But once you set that up once, then it's super easy. And I've just got my channel ID. That was important. That was really hard for me to figure out. I was going crazy because it wasn't working with my name, but it actually needs the channel ID rather than the actual name. So that's why that is there. And you can let the model define this parameter. So a lot of AI stuff in here, which makes it really cool. And I'm looking for the fields, the statistics. So this basically just gets my my subscribers. Now, I can test things out at each point. So I can literally execute this step and then see that in the output. Isn't this so cool? So I can actually look along here and I can kind of see the YouTube channel. That's my ID. And there is my subscriber count and my view count. Nice. I love it. So I can, check up on this. If I really want to grow my channel, I can check up every day. How many subscribers am I getting each day? Am I doing my job well? And you can see like there's a nice table format. You can see it in JSON format. In case you wanted to copy that and put it into something, or, etc. You have different kind of ways of looking at the output and the same as the input. So that's kind of really cool. And I love the way you can execute the step just there. And then settings, again, you could write your notes in there. You can do a display note in the flow to explain things a little bit better, etc. Okay, let's take a look at the get issues of a repository of GitHub. I didn't show this in the chat, but basically, again, just playing around, and I've got my GitHub account connected. Again, that was important to just kind of setting that up. It was really simple, but once it's done, it's done. And then it's basically just getting the repository from Debs O'Brien. And I'm looking at the Playwright Movies app this time. So I just really want to know if there's any kind of open issues and things. So I can go ahead and execute that step. And you can see here, let me maybe do table. You can see here, there's the repository URL, the labels, the comments. There's 67 comments, the events, there's the user, so the Copilot was the last one to do stuff there. And it kind of like, go through any of the open issues. So again, I can just ask it kind of a couple of questions here and, to filter through all this because I don't want to read all this response, right? So I want to know basically the last open issues or whatever. And I can just totally do that. So this is all the stuff that's coming back. And I can play with that as much as I wanted to. So that's kind of really cool. Now, another thing I've got is the get weather. So we saw that in the example, and there's the description for the weather, and I'm connecting to this URL here. And then basically I'm able to get the weather. And again, I can execute this step here, and now it's kind of saying provide the data that would normally come from your first AI agent. So it's looking for all this kind of stuff, and that's, whoa, no, that's not really helping. So that's when you kind of go, oh, click on the AI. Now here, look at this. This is cool. It opens up the n8n AI, and we've got build or ask, and we could basically ask, how do I fill out this step, etc. So that's kind of really cool. So let's just get back out of there. So what I would have to do is, because I've put get, I've no authentication in here, and I'm just using the fields below, name, latitude, all right? It needs to know the latitude. That's kind of, and I could change that to be always Palma because maybe I don't care about the rest of the weather coming from anywhere else. So again, I can, change these query parameters to whatever I want, or basically have the value defined by the model, right? Let the model define the parameter, for example. So this is Debbie's AI chat. No fields items exist, but they're empty. So variables and context. So these are what is available to me now today: the vars, the execution, the ID, the mode, the resume, URL, the workflow, the ID, the name, the active, right? So these are things I could, drag and drop into here. I'm showing you a really bad example, for example. That's not really how I should be doing things, but just to show you that this is all really like super nice and drag and droppable, and you can like throw things in there. Obviously latitude now would make absolutely no make sense at all. So let's not do that. But yeah, that's kind of like what you can do with those things. So that's very cool. Next one is the get the news. I didn't show you that, but yeah, get the latest blog posts about any RSS feeds from BBCI. So that's coming through. Execute that step. And we have to provide the data that would normally come from your first agent. So again, when you're testing things out, it's important to understand how these work and kind of document it. And let me see, this one has, let's just get this one, for example, and execute this step and then put in the URL in here. And then it should give me the latest blog post, creator Andrew Green, implementing re-rankers in your AI workflows. So again, there's a lot of stuff coming through here, and AI is just going to give you a nice summary of them all, depending on what you're asking your AI agent to give you. Let me come back to that one up here. Oh, I didn't show you this as well. Get the availability in a Google Calendar, right? So here's a nice one showing you the now things. Remember I showed you a couple of seconds ago? So let me see. Done schema. There's the now, right? So the start time now and the end time now plus 1 hour. Maybe I wanted to make sure my availability is now plus maybe half an hour. And how am I available on my calendar? So that's really useful if someone says, hey, are you free for a meeting next week? And instead of me opening the app and checking, I could just, say, am I free next week at this time? Kind of cool. So a lot of things you can do there with your Google Calendar. Again, I've connected my Google Calendar. That was the hardest thing. Once that's done, it's easy. Actually, it wasn't that hard. Google is probably the easiest to set up. Then there's Hacker News. So again, just some news thing, not really that exciting. I'd have to put the article ID in there to get the article ID, but that's how that would work. And Strava was actually pretty awkward to find out the developer part of Strava to get that API and stuff and key and put that all in. And I even did it twice. That's how I messed up. So I've got in there a Strava account too. And you can see all the things that I've got here. And basically, if I execute the step, I don't actually know what it's going to give me unless I ask for things. There we go. Gives me everything there's my Garmin Phoenix 7 watch and what is coming back from the afternoon run that I did. So this is kind of just fun, right? It's just my kind of cool thing. I'm running on the treadmill these days. So, I need to actually maybe tell it to basically say running and treadmill is the same thing these days. So that was really cool. And then all of this is, again, everything is being handled by this agent. Now, I could do this workflow out differently so that it gets all that information, summarizes it always, and then puts it, there's a lot of things you can do, right? But because it's just a chatbot, these are just tools. Maybe I don't want it to always send an email. And if that's the case, then this is fine as a tool. And if I did, then there should be another part of the workflow that extends onto, as in you do this and then you do this. So send a message in Gmail. I absolutely hate emails. So the thoughts of sending myself more emails is just oh my God. But there's actually quite a lot of other things you can do. And I really want to get some emails, mark as read. Just mark all my emails as read. Just imagine that. And then I'd have to deal with them. That would be amazing. Reply to all my email people saying, please stop emailing me. I don't know. Filter them, sort them. There's a lot of cool things. I really want to play around with this more. But again, you just set up your Gmail account. And then basically who you're sending the email to and all the kind of stuff that you can do. And again, I'm not going to execute this step because it's going to have to put a subject and, I could test it out by putting a subject and message and I will just get myself an email, another email to manage. So that's basically all you need to do-ish to make it work, right? Once you have this, you press the save button and then there's this active button. If I make this inactive, then my chat is not going to work. If I make this active, I can now make the calls to the production chat URL. So it's really important to put it active. And these executions will not show up immediately in the editor, but you can see them in the execution if you choose to save executions. Okay, got it. Cool. So that's it, right? Now, all I did was walk you through something. I didn't actually do anything. So that was not very good of me, but let's quickly do something. I don't know, let's add in, let's wait for approval for humans. That is quite nice. Maybe you want to do something and make sure that you come along and stamp the okay. Maybe mark all the emails. I don't know, something like that, whatever. So there's a load of things you can do and you can search for example, Notion, and you can have Notion in there, Google Sheets. So you could add a Google Sheets in there, and you could say create a spreadsheet, append or update a row in a sheet, delete rows, get a row. There's so many things you can do, right? So we can say append or update a row on a sheet. We can add that in there. We can get our Google Sheets account. So I've already connected that. And from the list, so now it's connected to my my Google Sheets. So you can see like my ViewConf workshop attendees, the Lighthouse score. There's a lot of old stuff in there. Maybe like LinkedIn posts. I was gonna put a filter all my LinkedIn posts and get all the comments from there. And I can basically then just, add or append something into there. But you'd have to go to our Google Sheets and make sure we have the same columns and rows as needed. So I'll come back to that a bit later. You'll see now this has a bit of a red thing because it's not fully finished and it's not added to anywhere, right? So it's kind of like, what have I just done? I've just added a thing here. So I'd really have to make that, add to the agent here, or I can just delete it there. Look at that. Or I can just press where the tool's there. Yeah, I can just, add another tool. And that just opens that menu again and allows me to, search for those other things. Recommended tools, MCP client tool connects tools from MCP server. That's kind of cool. Vector stores, MongoDB. There's Supabase vector store. There's kind of so many cool things in here that you can do. So again, this looks really scary at first and you're kind of going, how do I even, start doing all this? Where do I start? This is really cool. You can press this and it kind of cleans it all up and makes it all nice. I love dragging and dropping it and making it, right? But you can just clean up. So that's kind of cool. And of course you can make it, bigger and zoom in, woo, and zoom out. You can have so much fun. And make sure it's all in the window as, if I go like that, and then I can just, look at that. Whoa, doesn't that look really cool? I think that looks really cool. I like that view. No, let's bring it down. Let's get down. Let's get down. Let's get down. There you go. Okay. Enough about that. So yeah, this is it. Just play around with this. This is really cool. I'm really impressed. And again, this has been really helpful is, I did try the build. It didn't do what it was meant to do. I tried the YouTube video chapters. It did not give it to me. So that needs a little bit of work. But AI, it's about finding the right prompts and playing around with it more. Definitely the ask has been amazing. I have not read a single page of the documentation because I found the docs a little bit kind of scary, because I just find docs are scary. When there's too much docs and too much to know, when a product has got so much to give you and so much to learn, you get a bit scared about docs. So this is your friend. You can ask them any questions, and the AI docs here, the n8n AI agent, is just going to give you everything you need. You can actually build workflows from ChatGPT and everything. There's a lot of stuff. There's a load of videos out there. So I highly encourage you to check it out. Let's leave without saving. We didn't want to save those. So yes, I've got a couple of days left on my trial, and a couple of things we can see are the success, the executions. We can see that was a test execution, but these were actually the real executions using the chatbot. We've got some errors here, me failing. I was going to try and make you a really cool video and that failed. So I'm going to have to work on that a little bit more. And you got data tables if you had any. So again, create a data table. Look at that. That's kind of cool. I haven't done that yet. Again, a lot of cool things in here. So highly encourage you to check that out and play with it. I will give you a link in the description below of how you can basically open this up with the starter one that I started with, and then I added the other tools onto it. And I highly do encourage you to go and just check it out. Spend a couple of hours. Might take you less depending on your knowledge of getting the API credential keys. That's going to take the most time. Play around with it, and then just make sure you activate. And once you've activated it, follow in the instructions. But then you just go to here and you've got your URL, and then you're able to just come along here and just ask your chatbot loads of questions like, what open issues are on my repo, for example. I don't even know if it's going to answer the right question, but there's just a load of kind of things you can do, and it's just not, oh my gosh, too many open issues. I've got some work to do, guys. Set up Copilot instructions for repository. So this is really cool. This is just really cool. I like it. This is fun. I want to keep adding more things to it. I'm my own personal assistant. And I just created that in a very short space of time for free. I will have to pay eventually. But for now, just for testing things out, this is totally free, no credit cards added. So that's kind of cool. I love when companies let you just play around for free without actually adding credentials. So yeah, definitely check that out. And you can host it again in your own as well if you needed to. And there's so many cool things. Give it a go and let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear how you get on if you found building your first agent was as scary or as difficult as you thought, or actually, do you know what? It's pretty straightforward. I'm more than impressed. I'm also thinking like, why didn't anybody tell me about this like months ago? Why didn't somebody tell me like, Debbie, it actually is quite, and I'm not, again, I don't want to use the word easy, straightforward to create this kind of thing. Like it's super straightforward. The tools out there are just amazing. Have fun and happy AI. Create those agents and let me know how you get on. Have fun, guys.